everybody, Roger Twibell in New York, substituting for Frank Gifford, who was on assignment at the Hall of Fame game. Today, as part of our big day of live events, we had planned to bring you the Arlington Challenge Cup, but due to career-ending injuries sustained recently by Sunday Silence and Easy Goer, we will not bring you that event, and we'll have more on that story a little bit later. But we have a big afternoon of live events, so let's first go to San Jose and check in with Mike Adamley at the site of the USSR Women's Gymnastics meet. Mike?
Well, thank you, Roger. There's a capacity crowd here at the event center in San Jose at San Jose State University, and what the audience will be watching based on their recent performance at the Goodwill game are the two very best world gymnastics teams, women, the Soviet Union and the U.S. For the U.S., the star is Kim Zmeskal, 14 years old from Houston, Texas. The one to watch for the Soviet Union, Natalia Kalinina, who won 4 Goodwill golds and also scored the only perfect 10 of the competition. It's all coming up here from San Jose, the U.S. Olympic Challenge, USA versus USSR gymnastics meet. But right now, let's go to Brent Musburger.
Hi, Mike. Thank you very much, and welcome to the Meadowlands, California. And by the following.
You on the condition of Allen's. Let's rejoin Mike Adamley. Mike?
Thank you, Roger, and welcome to the event center here at San Jose State University for the U.S.-USSR gymnastics. First rotation, that has been completed. Oksana Chusovitina of the Soviet Union has the lead with a 9.975 in the vault, but Kim Zmeskal and Betty Okino of the United States are tied for second. Both had 9.950s on the uneven bars. Now let's turn our attention to one of the favorites here, all-around champion at the Goodwill Games, 16-year-old Natalia Kalinina of the Soviet Union.
And with Kim Zmeskal just performing a 9.95 balance beam routine, there's a lot of pressure on Natalia. This is a good event for her. She has been very consistent throughout the competition. And obviously, gold medalist at the Goodwill Games. She begins with what is called a straddle over. She has great swing. Never has a form break. Beautiful. Oh, there's a big break. Big break. That will probably cost her 2 to 3/10 of a point. Large knee bend there. She takes such risks on this event. And when you take that kind of risk, there's much more room for error. Big break there on the ending. Not a great way to perform an uneven bar routine. 2 major breaks.
Not the Natalia we are accustomed to seeing, but Bart, you mentioned that sometimes one of her problems, consistency.
Well, it's interesting, you know, right before we came to us live, the meet was very hot. All the routines were right on. I don't know what happened here. She just opened up a hair early, and of course the Soviets have been here a couple of weeks. It's been a very difficult time for them with the Goodwill Games and an exhibition the other day in Portland. Perhaps they're a little tired. This is certainly an advantage for the U.S. team.
Well, hi again, everyone. I'm Mike Adamley, along with Bart Connor and Kathy Reeve-McCoy, and it's no secret, no surprise here, the Soviet team, rich in depth, rich in talent, but one of the stars, the dominating presence, is missing. Svetlana Boginskaya is not here. She traveled with the team, but she will not compete. Why?
Well, there have been rumors that Svetlana planned to retire after the Goodwill Games. Those rumors have not been substantiated. However, the Soviet coaches have opted to give the younger gymnasts the opportunity to compete for a little more international experience. Now, Svetlana's presence today will be missed by those who appreciate the dramatic artistry she brings to the sport, and she certainly has the biggest name in the sport. But the facts are that her standards were somewhat subpar at the Goodwill Games, and it was one of her teammates that won the all-around and not Svetlana.
Well, we just saw that teammate of hers on the uneven bars, Natalia Kalinina. She doesn't have the same style as Svetlana, but she may be every bit as good, Kathy.
Well, ultimately she could be better. She has had a lot of breaks today, but in the Soviet system, when one of the stars begins to fade, another is right behind. In fact, there is a continuum of young potential world and Olympic champions, and each one is capable of beating the other at any time.
Bart, last year at this dual meet between the Soviets and the Americans, Brandy Johnson was the all-around champion. She elected not to compete here this year. She is still a member of our national team, but I get the feeling that the United States this afternoon is still in some very capable hands.
Absolutely, and it's a meet like this that actually provides a very interesting opportunity for the U.S. team. Very little to lose because the Soviets are heavy favorites, and everything to gain. We saw in 1987 Christy Phillips. She won the gold in this meet, and then last year Brandy Johnson got the gold in the all-around. That certainly helped their name recognition and their international credibility. Certainly, Kim Zmeskal has an opportunity to do the same thing here today. She had a good performance in the Goodwill Games. She's off to a great start today in both of her first two events, the bars and the balance beam. And I really believe that, as we know in a sport like gymnastics that's subjectively judged, that name recognition and international credibility counts for everything. And I really feel in this situation here, I noticed the girls were a little down coming into the meet, but this very intimate crowd here, 5,000 people, they're really pumped up, and it seems like the U.S. girls have a very good chance to really press the Soviets.
Well, in addition to Kim Zmeskal and Betty Okino and Natalia Kalina, that we will be seeing some new faces this afternoon, but by the time the Olympics roll around in 1992, they could very well be household names. And we'll return with more of the USSR gymnastics competition after this message and a word from our sponsors.
ABC's Wide World of Sports continues live from San Jose.
Welcome back to San Jose, California. Here are the standings in the all-around competition after two rotations, and Kim Zmeskal of the United States, 14 years old from Houston, Texas, has taken the lead. Her score 19.9. She is followed by Oksana Chusovitina of the Soviet Union. This is Tatiana Gutsu on the balance beam, third rotation.
And so far she's working very well. Only 13 years old, and when you're talking about this kind of international experience, it's so beneficial to them.
What I find, Kathy, so remarkable is that even at just 13 years old, she has probably the most difficult routines in the competition.
She and her teammate Groshkova truly take an incredible amount of risks, especially on this event. Now, in some of her dance moves, she doesn't have quite the finesse of her older teammates, but she will get that soon with the experience she's gaining. A little bit flat-footed there. Great dismount, full in double back after two back handsprings. That's difficulty.
Well, Kathy, no less an authority than Svetlana Boginskaya calls Tatiana Gutsu the Soviet star of the future, and one of the reasons she says is that she has a great aptitude for learning.
Well, you know, you learn more easily at a younger age. You're not so fearful, and that's probably one of the reasons, but she exemplifies that.
Boy, what dismount. Back handsprings through to a full twisting double back, and once again, typical of the Soviets, they press the level of difficulty at an early age so that as these girls mature, they have an opportunity to really become comfortable with these very high-level, complex routines.
But one of the things they also stress is form, which is so important.
Next up in the floor exercise, 13-year-old Hillary Grivich. She was in 8th place after two rotations.
And she began in Houston and moved to Huntsville, Texas. Commutes 1 hour, beautiful full-in double back. Not as high as some of the other athletes in the competition, but very steady there. Actually similar to style Kim Zmeskal, her teammate.
Hillary had a good start on the uneven bar. She had a 9.75. She had a 9.85 on balance beam, and I think she surprised herself with her dismount there.
Well, she seems to be very consistent in competition. A good team player. 1.5 step out, double twist, wonderful tumbling run.
Hillary, the current United States champion. As we look at Tatiana Gutsu in the lower left-hand portion of your screen, she scored a 9.90 on the balance beam.
Once again, with many of the younger gymnasts, the ones young to international experience, you'll see that they're lacking just a little bit in flair, amplitude, but many of them have the great difficulty, as Hillary double tuck, stepping back there just a little bit, fell out of it, over-rotated. But a good routine.
We were watching Hillary in the training sessions in the last couple of days, and she was having plenty of trouble with her tumbling runs. I think she's pretty pleased with that performance because she over-rotated her last tumbling run here on the double back, and we've talked so many times about how important that landing is. It's the last thing that the judges see, and you have to show the ultimate in control.
When we talk about experience too, Bart, over-rotation comes from overzealousness, a little bit off on the timing.
Hillary waiting for a score in the floor exercise. This is Natalia Lashenova of the Soviet Union.
She is a wonderful gymnast. Starts out with a front flip mount. Very difficult, dangerous move as far as just landing on that balance beam and landing without bobbling. Her maturity in the sport. She's so beautiful to watch. Great flair. Perfect example of what the judges are looking for. Watch this flexibility. Great toe point. Here's her gymnastics series or dance series, one of the requirements on the balance beam. Interesting, very simple move of front roll there. One of the first things you learn when you're working on the balance beam at the young age of 5, 6, 7 years old.
Incidentally, the score for Hillary Grivich in the floor exercise, 9.75.
One of the things that's so nice to watch about Lashenova is her expressive arm movements and wrist movements. Everything is accented. And her dismount. Double tuck. Solid routine. Not some of the difficulty of the younger gymnast, but so solid, so clean. The dance is really lovely.
She's so powerful that she's had problems in the past of just flying off the apparatus because she completely bounces out of a backflip or one of the layouts or through her series of back handsprings. But she really has matured, and she's a lot calmer and a lot better in competition.
And we'll return with more of the USSR gymnastics competition after this message and a word from our sponsors. All-around title at stake here in San Jose, but also the team competition as well. And here are the standings after 2 rotations. The United States trails the Soviet Union.
Next up on balance beam.
We turn our attention now to the balance beam and Tatiana Groshkova. Tatiana was 8th after 2 rotations.
And mainly that's due to consistency. It's a real problem with Tatiana. If she hits, she truly has some of the most difficulty and exquisite routines of anyone. Look at that move. Look at the flexibility. Unfortunately, her mental game can't compare to her athletic abilities. Look at those leaps. So split, 180 degrees or more. I believe she's getting ready for a back handspring. Full twist.
Right on.
Absolutely exquisite and so tough. That balance beam is only 4 inches wide. You're flipping and twisting at the same time. Now watch this flexibility move.
Ouch.
She's getting ready for a move now that really should be named after her. After she does a gainer here, she will line herself up sideways. Watch this. She will do a back handspring into another back handspring to her stomach. Just in case you don't believe it. Right now she has to be very confident, but not overconfident for this dismount. Really has to hold on to the ending. Full twisting double back. If that doesn't receive a 10, I don't know what will.
An electrifying performance by Tatiana Groshkova. Getting the hug from her teammates.
Kathy, there's no question that the level of difficulty in this routine is probably the best in the world. Notice that move sideways on the balance beam, a back handspring, and then she sets up to do this move, a Yurchenko, which is a back handspring around and then a roll below the beam.
And you really have to undercut on that particular move. Once again, because that beam is so narrow.
And this is a terrific angle to see exactly how precarious this move is.
Oh.
Not a lot of room for error there.
Call it spotter back handsprings. And then, of course, her incredible flexibility, which is...
9.5.
Well, Kathy, her score, it wasn't a perfect 10, but not bad, 9.95.
Not bad at all, but for all that difficulty, that's a pretty amazing routine. And
next up in the